Good evening, friends. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. C.A. Raj Chawla, the organizer of this event. He has been very kind to organize this webinar on a short notice, so I am grateful to him. Friends, information technology has been close to my heart. I have been involved in information technology, which has been affecting accounting and auditing profession. We have started working on digital financial reporting, which is more popularly known as XBRL. And now when GST has come in, after realizing that information technology has an important role to play in it, we thought perhaps this is an area where we should be working on, and that's how we started taking interest into it. Friends, our agenda for today's session is GST returns and filing process. Then we'll discuss about data matching, then reconciliation of electronic ledgers, and in the end we will have a Q&A session. In case you have any queries, we can discuss about them. We will try to answer all your questions, all your queries here itself. So let us start with GST returns and filing process. For a regular taxpayer, there are 3 returns which he needs to file every month. Although there are other kind of taxpayers also, but due to limitation of time, we are discussing about regular taxpayers only. So a regular taxpayer needs to file 3 returns every month, which means in a year he'll be filing somewhere around 36 returns, and then there is an annual return. So in all, a regular taxpayer will be required to file 37 returns. GSTR 1 is the first return, which contains the data of outward supply of goods and services, and this needs to be filed by 10th of subsequent month. But for filing GSTR 1, the taxpayer can upload the invoice level data at GST portal either on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. He can save the data, and at the end of the month he can just reconcile everything and then file his return. Then there is GSTR 2, which is details of inward supply of goods and services. Friends, I would like to make a point over here that GSTR 1 is the only return which the taxpayer will be required to file. Rest all the returns will be auto-populated by the system itself. So GSTR 2 will contain detail of inward supply received by the taxpayer, and the deadline for filing this return will be 15th of subsequent month. Then GSTR 3, which is monthly return. Monthly return will be auto-populated by the system, and the taxpayer will not be required to file it based on the data which he has submitted in GSTR 1 and GSTR 2. After reconciliation, the data in monthly return GSTR 3 will be auto-populated by the system, and then it needs to be filed by 20th of subsequent month. Then there is an annual return, which is known as GSTR 9. This needs to be filed along with the audited annual accounts and reconciliation statement, and the deadline for filing annual return by the taxpayer is 31st December of subsequent financial year. So you will please note that there is a window of time of about 9 months made available to the taxpayer for the purpose of reconciliation of mismatched data in preceding 12 months. Now let us have a look at the monthly return filing process. So as a step number 1, taxpayer needs to upload the data of outward supply of goods or services at GSP portal. Then step number 2 will be downloading GSTR 2A. See, taxpayer is submitting only GSTR 1. So similarly, the sales level data will be submitted by the suppliers of the taxpayer also, and system will auto-populate it in the form of GSTR 2A, which the taxpayer can download from GSP portal, and then he needs to reconcile the downloaded data with his own accounting records. And the third step is reconciliation of inward supply, which I have just told you that he needs to reconcile the data downloaded from GSP portal with his own accounting records. And once the reconciliation is complete, then he can upload GSTR 2 at GSP portal, which is step number 4. Then step number 5 is downloading GSTR 1A. Friends, I have told you as the first step, taxpayer needs to upload GSTR1, which is the outward supply of goods and services. This GSTR1 will be thrown to the purchaser of taxpayer, and he will be asked to reconcile it with his own accounting records. And after reconciliation, there could be some mismatch item, there could be some modification, and thus that all data will be again given back to the taxpayer for his acceptance. Now he can, as step number 6, he can reconcile the outward supplies and goods and services which he has downloaded with modification and correction by the purchaser, and he can accept it or modify it wherever it is required. Then comes step number 7. Step number 7 is, after the reconciliation of outward supply of goods and services over, taxpayer can upload GSTR 1A at the GST portal. And then comes step number 8, which is an important step, reconciliation of electronic credit ledger and cash ledger. See, after the taxpayer has uploaded GSTR 1A, but before filing the monthly return, taxpayer needs to reconcile the electronic credit ledger and electronic cash ledger and upload it. Then last step is uploading GSTR 3. See, after taxpayer has reconciled electronic credit ledger and electronic cash ledger and he has made the payment of taxes, then he can upload the monthly return. Please note that monthly return cannot be uploaded without payment of taxes. So taxpayer needs to make the payment of taxes before uploading the monthly return. And in case for some or other reason he is able to upload the return without payment of taxes, then please note that the return will be considered as invalid return. So reconciliation of electronic credit ledger and electronic cash ledger is something which we are going to discuss in this session in detail. Now, another important thing which we need to discuss in today's session is data matching. So to understand how the data matching will be done, first of all, friends, we need to understand what all data is being uploaded at GST portal. So you all know that tax invoice contains various information and data relating to the taxpayer, the purchaser, and some data needs to be uploaded at GST portal. So first of all, as a practitioner, you need to understand which data is being uploaded at GST portal. Then only you can ensure that that data is correct. So here on the screen, you can see the data which is being uploaded at GST portal. Information which is contained in yellow boxes is which is uploaded at GST portal. For example, consecutive serial number of invoice. Now here I would like to add that the consecutive serial number should be unique for each financial year. For example, we are in financial year 2017-18. So the uniqueness that can come if 2017-18 is added as a prefix in the invoice number. Second is date of issuance of invoice. This is important because based on the date of issuance of invoice, the time of supply rules applies. Then place of supply and name of state and code. This is also important because based on the state in which the supplier and recipient are situated, the rules relating to place on supply will be applied by the software. Whether it should be SGST plus CGST or it should be IGST, whether it is a transaction of intra-state supply or interstate supply, this will be decided by the place of supplier. Then HSN code of goods, harmonious codes, then SAC code or accounting code of services. Then comes taxable value of goods and services, rate of tax. Rate of tax is important because we don't have a uniform rate of tax in GST. We have got 4 rates of tax. So an item may contain a different rate of tax. So the rate of tax should be correct and as per tax invoice. Then comes amount of tax charge in the invoice, total value of goods and services which is contained in tax invoice. So this is the data which is being uploaded at GST portal. So since this is the data only which is uploaded at GST portal, this is the only data which can be compared by the system between supplier and recipient. Now one more data which was left out from the previous slide was indication of tax payable under RCL. Now friends, here I would like to add that you must have discussed one rule regarding registered supplier and unregistered supplier. In case you make any purchase from an unregistered supplier, then unregistered supplier cannot charge the GST amount in his tax invoice. The tax amount will be paid by you, by the taxpayer, by way of reverse charge mechanism. So there should be an indication of tax payable under RCM in the invoice. Now this is the data which is uploaded at GST portal. Since this is the only data which is uploaded at GST portal, then this can only be compared between the supplier and recipient, and the taxpayer needs to ensure that this data is correct. Now, once the invoice level data is being uploaded at GST portal and there is a system to match it between the supplier and recipient, the matching can happen, or the matching can happen either at the aggregate level, taxpayer, wherein the taxpayer will aggregate all his sales and purchases made across all the customers and vendors and file one return. Second, it could be at dealers level. A taxpayer may aggregate all his sales and purchases made across all the customers and vendors and can file a single return along with the transaction consolidated customer and vendor wise. Third is invoice level. A taxpayer aggregates all his purchases and sales across various customers and vendors and then file one return along with the transactions details provided invoice wise. And the last is, if it is drilled down, it could come down to line item level. A taxpayer aggregates all his purchase and sales made across all the customers and vendors and file one single return along with the invoice wise transaction capturing item wise detail, item with a HSN code number. Friends, at the moment data is not matched on line item level. Presently it is being matched at invoice level. But in future, when the system has capability, this can come down to matching of invoice level data at line item level. Now, I hope now I am able to make it clear that which data is uploaded at GST portal and what kind of uh, matching can happen at GST portal. Now, with this background, now let us discuss about reconciliation of electronic ledgers. Friends, I'm sure you must have attended seminars and conferences which have been happening in every city and every town on almost a regular basis. So you must be familiar with these terms, electronic cash ledger and electronic credit ledger. But for those who have not attended any program or those who are not clear as to what does this electronic cash ledger and electronic credit ledger means, I would try to explain it in very simple words. Friends, electronic cash ledger is an account maintained for each taxpayer at GST portal where the tax deposited by the taxpayer is credited, and this amount can be utilized for payment of major heads. Major heads are like taxes, and its subheads could be like SGST, CGST, IGST, and UTGST. And it can also be used for payment of interest, penalty, fees, or other amount. So this is how electronic cash ledger is being used for the purpose of making entries for amount deposited by the taxpayer and for its utilization towards the taxpayer's liability. And then there is an input tax credit ledger wherein the amount of input tax credit for which the taxpayer is entitled to is credited, but this can be utilized only for payment of taxes. It cannot be used for payment of penalty or interest. Now friends, on GST portal, every taxpayer once he logs in will get a dashboard, and in that dashboard he can see the ledger balance of his taxes account like CGST account, SGST account, and IGST account, where he'll get an information like how much is his liability at the end of the month. For example, here you can see his liability for CGST is 1,15,000, and how much taxes he has deposited. So this will be reflected in cash account, this one. Then balance in electronic credit ledger. So how much amount of input tax credit the taxpayer has received? So here he has received 18,000 and the net balance. So he has got liability of 1,15,000, but he has input tax credit of 180,000 and 20,000 he has deposited by way of cash, which means he still needs to make payment of 15,000 rupees. Then he will have an SGST account where the liability, for example, in the screen you can see is rupees 90,000 and the tax deposited by him is rupees 40,000 and input tax credit for which he is entitled to and which has been credited to his credit ledger is 70,000. So here he has got surplus of rupees 20,000. Now the third account is IGST account where he has got liability of IGST is rupees 1,15,000. Then he has deposited taxes to the tune of rupees 20,000 and input tax credit for which he is entitled to is rupees 80,000, which means there is a shortfall of rupees 15,000 in his IGST account which he needs to pay before he can file the monthly return. Apart from this ledger balance, he will also receive the receiver's mismatch reports and supplier's mismatch reports. So on the dashboard, you can see there are 3 invoices where the total taxable amount is 4,60,000 rupees and mismatch amount is 12,000 rupees. Similarly, for supplier mismatch report on the dashboard, you can see there are 3 invoices which have a total taxable value of rupees 4,50,000 and where the additional tax liability is rupees 3,400. Now, when you click at this arrow on the right hand side, you can drill down this information to invoice level. So what will happen is you'll get the detailed information of receiver's mismatch report and supplier's mismatch report. In the receiver's mismatch report, you can see the total invoice is 3. Total taxable amount is 4,60,000 and the total mismatch credit is rupees 12,000. So the breakup of these 3 invoices is available invoice wise, which you can see on your screen. The first invoice has taxable value as per receiver 1,10,000 and as per supplier 1 lakh rupees. So it has impact on input tax credit claimed by the taxpayer, which is 22,000 IGST, and total mismatch amount in credit is 2,000 rupees. Then second invoice is taxable value as per receiver is 1,20,000, taxable value as per supplier is 1 lakh rupees. So there is a mismatch of credit of rupees 4,000 rupees. Then third invoice which has taxable value as per receiver rupees 2,30,000 and supplier as per 2 lakh rupees. The tax credit claimed for CGST is rupees 23,000 and SGST is rupees 23,000. So the total amount of credit claimed is rupees 46,000 and there is a mismatch item of rupees 6,500. Now the second report which the taxpayer will download will be of supplier mismatch report. Now here again you can see on the dashboard like summary, there are 3 invoices which have mismatch in liability. The total taxable value is rupees 4,50,000 and the mismatch liability is rupees 3,400. Now you can drill down this information to invoice level. For example, in the first invoice, the taxable value as per supplier is rupees 1 lakh and as per receiver is rupees 1,10,000. So there is a difference of rupees 2,000. Then in case of second invoice, there is a taxable value as per supplier of rupees 2 lakh and as per receiver it is 2,05,000. So the difference in taxable value is rupees 100,000. Sorry, 1,000 only. Then in case of third invoice, the taxable value as per supplier is rupees 1,50,000 and as per receiver is rupees 1,52,000. So the difference is balance amount of rupees 400. So these are the mismatch report which taxpayers will be downloading from GSP portal and reconciling. Now, reconciliation of electronic cash ledger. See friends, you can imagine a situation where a company has got is about 1,000 invoice every day. Then in a month they will have something around 30,000 invoice, and presuming there is a data mismatch in case of only 10% of invoices, then he will have almost 3,000 invoices where there is a data mismatch. So this data mismatch cannot be reconciled by human beings, then you will need the help of softwares to first is identify which invoice has got problem, and then second is pinpoint where exactly that invoice problem is. So we have here with us this Gov Reports software, which is which is provided by an Australian company, and it is being used in Australia. They are the leaders for this solution and have come to India with customization of this software to use to meet Indian requirement. Now, the software has functionality of reconciliation of electronic cash ledger. Electronic cash ledger means, friends, as I've told you, whatever amount is deposited by the taxpayer, this is being credited to electronic cash ledger. Now, second account is electronic credit ledger. Friends, electronic credit ledger will be for input tax credit received by the taxpayer. So any credit tax credit which he receives will be credited over here. Any tax debit which reversal which could happen will be through electronic credit ledger. Now reconciliation of electronic tax liability ledger, friends. As you can see on your screen, the taxpayer has got electronic tax liability showing amount 70 book balance as per 75,000 rupees, GST and as per 75,000, and then there is a mismatch items. Amount is rupees 10,000, which includes CGST of rupees 5,000, IGST of rupees 2,500, and SGST of rupees 2,500. So here the work has been done by the software, and the software has summarized the information into this peaceful information, rather peaceful and useful information. Now, friends, this was all about the reconciliation which needs to be done by using software applications, but practical problems will come as and when we start using GST portal, we start downloading the data and start reconciling with our accounting records. So I have created a group at LinkedIn. In case you are at LinkedIn, you can please join this group, GST knowledge sharing group, where more than as on date there are more than 80 members who are exchanging their problems, sharing their views, and providing solutions also for various day-to-day problems. You can join this group and share your problem and experiences on implementation of GST in India. Now, friends, in case you have any queries or questions, we can take up that one by one. I will try to answer all your questions, all your queries right now. Any questions, any queries, please? Hello? Any questions, please?
I will not. There is no questions so far. I can't find any questions so far.
Maybe because this subject is new, people are not familiar with the filing process, people have not used the software applications, they have not seen how to interact with GST portal. Maybe that is the main reason why people are not having any queries.
Yeah, that's the possibilities, yes.
Friends, I can tell you here, see, we have tried to provide you whatever inputs we can based on the functionality which is today available at GSTN portal. At the moment, the GSTN portal is also going under testing phase. So where software vendors are testing their software applications, and then GSTN is providing APIs for adding more functionalities, for providing facilities for filing of other returns. At the moment, the facility is available only for filing GSTR 1. For GSTR 2, GSTR 3, the GSTN portal is yet to provide the APIs, and perhaps that is the reason the filing will start from 15th of July, because the full readiness is not yet achieved. But as and when the GST portal is ready, we will again organize a webinar. We will again try to discuss these all practical problems with you. We'll try to share the knowledge through a webinar. Any questions, please? Friends, in case you don't have any questions, then later on also we can, if you find any questions, any queries, you can please write us. We'll try to answer all your questions, all your queries in the next 24 hours.
I think everyone is very clear about practical aspects of GST.
Yes, any comment, any thoughts from you, Raj, on the practical side of?
No, practical side, as you mentioned, it is all data by data matching now. So there is no manual intervention when we are coming out the practical aspects of GST return preparations. So it's all starting from the tax invoice when you make a supply. When we make a supply, the tax invoice, which comprises with all the validity of the properties properly validated, then everything will be automatically updated. So as you said in your GSTR 1 and GSTR 2, so these two items, it is automatically matched, means there is no role for GSTR 3 at all. So in an hypothetical situation, if your GSTR 1 and GSTR 2 properly done, means you need not worry about GSTR 3 at all. It is automatically coming. You should be ready to make the payment and lodge the return. So that's the way it is. So one way, this digital transformation makes accountants' job very easier. Another angle, it is very difficult for the end users because they have to comply with each and every item which is in the tax invoice.
Okay then friends, in case you don't have any questions, please go home. Later on, if you find any queries, any questions, you can please write us. We will try to answer your questions, your queries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you, Raj.